Good morning, everybody. 'Tis the fortnight before Christmas. That is, more or less, and we've shopped and we've dropped and survived the Black Friday mess. But there are still those of us who probably should be at the mall, but we've blown off gift shopping to riff on mail call. You like that? I wrote that literally 5 minutes before I started the camera, so that's why it's shit. The following comments are taken from editions of Mail Call printed in the Herald Mail from November 25th to December 6, 2013, which can be read online in their entirety at www.heraldmailmedia.com. First up from Hagerstown. First, let me say that I am not a Washington Redskins fan. I did, however, grow up in a state with 7 reservations and spent much of my younger years with Native Americans. I can certainly understand how the term redskin could be viewed as a racial slur. However, the Washington football team has worn this name for some 80 years now. In that time, they have done nothing less than bring honor, strength, and respect to the term redskin. Yeah, sure, the team name is a deeply offensive, racist epithet. I get that, but it's such a storied franchise. I mean, doesn't that count for anything? You know, by that rationale, we might as well rename them the Prairie Niggers. I mean, as long as they carry the name with strength and respect, who's to complain, right? I am very offended by the Smithsburg caller who complained that people who are poor and using food stamps are buying such things as chicken breasts, pork chops, and blueberries. I can understand complaining about people using that money to buy junk food and overpriced prepared foods, but fresh meats and fruit? So what, poor people aren't allowed to eat a pork chop? This is very offensive. Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. No, you don't understand. Poor people have to live down to the expectations of not as poor people. We can't just give them help without begrudging and wish them well. We can hardly be expected to see someone using an EBT card to purchase fine meats and berries in line in front of us at the grocery store and think to ourselves, oh, how nice for them. It's good to see those government benefits for low-income persons being put to such good use. Or maybe just not think anything at all because it's none of our fucking business to begin with. No, that won't do. What kind of a country do you think this is? I'm watching on CNN tonight about the assassination of John Kennedy. I remember years and years ago when he says, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. If he would look at the situation this country is in today, with all these people on welfare and food stamps, he'd be rolling over in his grave. Williamsport. Yeah, especially if he knew they were spending those food stamps on chicken breasts and pork chops, for Christ's sake. You know, I actually agree. I think JFK would be pretty upset about the number of people on welfare and food stamps today, too. But I think he would probably blame that less on the poor people themselves and more on the fact that when you adjust for inflation, the minimum wage is lower today than it was when he was alive 50 years ago. It's amazing all these people calling Tea Party people the extremists. Less government control over our lives, which equals less taxes, conservative values, which our country was founded on, and enforcing the Constitution, which every person holding public office and every member of the military has sworn by oath to do, is what the Tea Party is about. So what part of that is extreme? I would think that ignoring our Constitution, growing a monstrosity of a government, and destroying our country from the inside out, all of which liberalism has been doing, would be the extreme position. Clear Spring. The problem is what you and many of the more media-savvy Tea Partiers and libertarians try to spin as less government control over our lives usually translates in the real world to gutting market regulations and cutting funding to education and social welfare programs in order to allow for lower taxes and higher profits for the wealthiest among us. In other words, making things a lot harder on those who have it the hardest in order for us to make it a little easier on those who have it the easiest. And some of us find that notion not only extreme, but extremely offensive. Calling in to comment on the Woolly Bear article that was in the paper on Tuesday, the 19th, We have found many woolly bears that are totally black and very thick with their fur, unlike the woolly bears found in the Hagerstown area. This means that we are going to have a very bad winter. Smithsburg. Oh, I don't know about that. I have an uncle who reads Chicken Bones who insists that we're in for a nice, easy winter. I mean, all due respect to your fuzzy little caterpillars, but I was there at Thanksgiving when he read the Bones, so I think I'll trust my source. I just drove by the new Washington County Board of Education headquarters, and I still think that building's way too large for that purpose. Not only will they have to now have cafeteria personnel for the employees to have lunch because there's no restaurants near there within a good driving range you can get to in a half hour, it was just a waste of money and a boondoggle that nobody looked into. It's going to cost millions to fix that building up. I don't understand why we just give the BOE a blank check, just stamp whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it without any oversight. They could have a much smaller building for their purposes. Hagerstown. To be fair, the Board of Education doesn't always get a blank check. When it comes to things like raising salaries and benefits for teachers or purchasing new materials and equipment, especially for rural schools, the checks are often not merely non-blank, but non-existent. So that should make you feel better. On November 15, Friday, I was listening to a radio in my car and I heard that Washington County has the highest unemployment in the state of Maryland out of 23 counties. And I blame this on our school system because we're not turning out students that will be able to enter the workforce in Washington County and all the traditional trade areas where there is a job. And it's not appealing for new businesses to come into Washington County because we don't have a very good labor force. Hagerstown. Given the state of the economy here in Washington County at present, I'm not sure what more you expect the public schools to do, unless of course you want to convert our public education system into one big nursing school / corrections officer training program, that is. And by the way, I don't think it's because they find our labor force to be underskilled that new businesses are reluctant to move to Washington County. My theory is that they all read mail call. And then they decide quite prudently to locate their operations somewhere else. I realize that reporters need some time off for the weekend, but please give us something to read on Saturday. It shouldn't take too much effort to just print another batch of mail call and maybe move Art Callahan's autobiography from Sunday to Saturday. Saturday's paper has next to nothing. I'm finished with it in 5 minutes. Hagerstown. Read a book. Or read the ingredients on the back of a box of instant mashed potatoes. I mean, either way, you're going to get more out of it than you would reading the Herald Mail. You poor wretch. And finally, from halfway, about the bronze bears sculpture in the park. I like the way they say the Washington County Arts Council and Washington County Museum and Barbara Ingram School are all behind this. That's just a sneaky way of saying that the tax money which supports them is going to this bear project. That money would be better spent. The lake is filling with scum. You can see that on the bottom. It needs to be dredged, not have a stupid bear sculpture put up. So you're saying the Arts Council, the museum, and the Barbara Ingram School should be spending their money on dredging the lake? Well, actually, if they all chipped in to pay for that, maybe the Parks and Recreation Division would have enough left over in their budget to pay for the bear statue. And then everybody's happy, right? Of course not. It's Hagerstown. Nobody's ever happy. Thanks for watching.